the midday sunshine. We kissed as I felt her breasts through her woolen pillow neck. I looked down at Anthea's legs. So sexy in the jodhpurs. I put my hand on her thighs and rubbed up and down. Said Anthea. That feels so nice. My hand reached her crotch. She opened her legs as my fingers pressed her there. I opened my jacket and let her hand explore my breasts. Already I could feel my nipples erect. "Oh Jess. This is divine," said Anthea, undoing the top of her jodhpurs. She stretched her legs on the wooden floorboards and put her head back onto the bench as I put my hand down her jodhpurs and inside her knickers. She moaned with pleasure as my fingers rubbed her clit. We kissed oh so passionately, and all the while my fingers rubbed her clit and gave her the sweetest sensations. If only we could have stripped off right there on the veranda. Loving would have been so sweet. But the October air was cool and fresh. Our passionate loving would have to wait. We sat there together looking out over the pond. So happy to be together and quite amazed at how much pleasure we could give each other. 4. We rode back to the house. Sometimes at a canter. More often at a brisk trot. I thought that Anthea looked the part. She looked stylish and elegant on her wonderful horse pony. She first took riding lessons as a young girl living in the village of Norton near Stoke-on-Trent in the English Midlands. She even had her own pony, Caramac, and competed in gymkhanas and other equestrian events in the region. Back in the stables I was amazed at how expertly she handled the horses, taking off the bridles, saddles, keeping the horses calm, talking to them all the while. The care and comfort of her horses was her first priority, and she was not afraid of doing all the hard work herself. In fact, she seemed to relish it. I was an amateur horsewoman by comparison. A mere hack about. After all that exercise and hard work in the stables, we needed a shower. It was not long before I was holding my darling Anthea under the hot shower and kissing her as water cascaded over our naked bodies. It felt like we were two schoolgirls taking a shower after a game of hockey. I fondled her lovely breasts and pressed her nipples between my fingers. Anthea looked so young. Her body lithe and slim. Just like in all those exercise videos she made. She almost looked younger than me. Or at least the same age. We are similar in height. But in bust region. I should say Anthea is 32 to my 36 and I am wider in the hip. Anthea stood with her legs apart as I pressed her crotch. She put her head back and let the warm water cascade on her face as I rubbed her clit with my fingers. My nipples were erect as I leaned down and suckled her breasts. Anthea moaned with pleasure. The warm water of the shower was making me horny. We kissed and our breasts rubbed together. Anthea put her hands on my hips and pulled me to her. My brown bush met her blonde. I kissed her neck as she put her arms around my waist. She stood with her legs open wide as I rubbed her sweet cup. I know I was driving her wild. Then I put my finger deep in her honey pot. Anthea sighed with pleasure. We kissed for what seemed like an hour as my finger gave her such pleasure and sweet delight. 5. While some young girls in the 1980s were pop star groupies, Anthea was a disc jockey groupie. She had a long-term live-in affair with Bruno Brooks, the Radio 1 disc jockey, and then left him to marry another Radio 1 disc jockey, Peter Powell. They were married in January 1990 in the church where her mother had been Sunday school teacher. In January 1990 in the church where her mother had been Sunday school teacher for 20 years. Peter by then was leaving his disc jockeying days behind and working hard to set up an agency managing the TV careers of presenters like Karen Keating and Philip Schofield, both big stars in children's TV. Of course, Peter's biggest asset was Anthea herself, soon to become the second highest paid woman in UK TV. So from the very beginning Peter was Anthea's manager as well as her husband. Their marriage, once so loving and passionate, slowly evolved into separate bedrooms and merely a business relationship. There was also an age difference. Anthea was 29 when they married and Peter 38. Her romance with the handsome and dashing Grant Bovey began in the summer of 1997. Grant held a lavish party at his new home in Sussex and arranged the seating so Anthea sat next to him at the black tie dinner. Later in the disco marquee they danced together to the music of Queen, ABBA and Blondie. Grant flirted outrageously with Anthea that evening and she found that he awoke in her sexual feelings and emotions that had long lain dormant and neglected. In the days ahead their relationship continued with daily phone calls and finally developed into a physical affair, with disastrous effects on their respective marriages. Thousands of people have affairs each year. Thousands of marriages break up. No one gives a damn. But if you re-Anthea Turner and you have an extramarital affair, it becomes headlines in the tabloids, leading stories in the TV national news. And all hell breaks loose. I knew that Anthea had been through hell. But maybe now, in the autumn of the year 2000, her ship was sailing into calmer waters. She was certainly calm as she snuggled up to me on the sofa wearing just her bra and knickers. Her hair was still damp from the shower as we stretched out together on the sofa with our heads resting on the cushions. Anthea was feeling good. She had enjoyed our morning ride so much. She wanted to talk about it and relive it again in her mind. Our passionate kiss on the wooden bridge. The ride to the lodge. "Oh Jess, I do so love having you here," she said, and she hugged me and kissed my cheek. I felt like a young schoolgirl again. I wanted to please Anthea. I wanted to earn her approval. I wanted to win my Blue Peter badge. At that moment I felt so happy and content. We kissed and my hand explored her body. Her thighs. Her tummy. Her breasts. "I can't wait for the winter," said Anthea suddenly. "I want to see the estate covered with snow. Wouldn't it be great if the pond froze?" she said with all her Blue Peter enthusiasm. Her blue eyes gleaming. "We could go skating together. Oh Jess, you must come to stay. Around Christmas time. Say early January. It'll be so magical then." It was a lovely thought, but I wondered about Grant. I'd never met him. Would he approve of our relationship? Anthea laughed when I mentioned these thoughts and concerns to her. Grant only wanted her to be happy, she assured me. He wanted her to have her own friends. "This is the year 2000, said Anthea. "Grant isn't going to worry about what girlfriends get up to in private." All this put my mind at rest. I felt that I could meet Grant without being overly embarrassed. He was a charming man. I was sure we'd get on well together. 6. After a relaxed meal which consisted of a mixed grill and oven chips, we settled down in the lounge to watch TV together. I stretched out on the sofa with my head on Anthea's lap. She gently smoothed my hair as we listened to the television news. More ma'am. More shootings and attacks. The world was going mad. Anthea was wearing black stockings, a black pleated miniskirt and a lycra top. She'd made an effort to look sexy, which I appreciated so much. I ran my hand up and down her nylons, feeling the contours of her legs, the smell of her scent, her soft, newly washed hair, the feel of her hand brushing my face. I was so turned on. I pulled her down onto the white semicircular rug in front of the wide hearth with its brass railings. She lay there on her back, smiling up at me as I knelt beside her. I pulled the pleated skirt up over her red knickers. Her long slim legs looked so sexy in those black stockings and suspenders. "You've got the sexiest legs in showbiz," I said. "Miss Sexy Legs." "That's me," said Anthea, grinning up at me. I couldn't wait any longer. I lay down beside her and kissed her. I felt Anthea's hand fondling my breasts as we lay there together on the rug. The television news rumbled on about the world and all its troubles. But I had lost interest. All I could think about was Anthea. The smell of her perfume. The taste of her lips. The touch of her soft warm breasts. We stripped down to just our bras and panties. The white lambswool rug felt heavenly to lie upon as we kissed and embraced. Anthea's hand went down my panties. She found my hot spot and rubbed me there while we kissed, and her tongue entered my mouth. It was so intimate. So fulfilling. I thought I would die of pleasure. Then I felt Anthea's finger go inside my honeypot. In and out her finger went rhythmically, all the while filling me with the sweetest sensations. I could feel my nipples dilate. I pulled down my bra to expose my breasts. Anthea began sucking and biting my nipple, while all the time her finger went in and out of my cup. I pressed her head to my breasts. I writhed on the lambswool rug. I was in seventh heaven. Later that night as we lay together on the wide sofa, "Oh Anthea, my darling," I said. "You know how to give pleasure to a woman." "I have my little secrets," smiled Anthea, quite pleased at my compliment. "Though of course, they're not secret anymore," she continued. I wondered just where she had learned the skills of lesbian love. I wondered which women she had made love to in the past. Maybe Karen Keating or Maggie Philbin. There were quite a few sexy women on TV. I fancied quite a few of them myself. Already, by the age of 40, Anthea could look back on an incredible career in television. She had presented Top of the Pops, Blue Peter, GM Breakfast TV. She was the presenter who introduced the first ever national lottery to a money mad, roll over jackpot mad nation. "Tonight the jackpot is £12 million, announced Anthea to a frantic audience, all sitting at home clutching their £1 lottery tickets. Anthea even took to the stage at Christmas 1991 playing Cinderella at the Theatre Royal in Winchester. "At the ball," said Anthea, "I entered wearing a wonderful costume with layers of shimmering tulle, a glittering wand and a diamond-studded tiara. I felt like a fairy princess." She landed the coveted Blue Peter job in September 1992 when Yvette Fielding left. Then began 2 years of live television, and it was then, when I was a young schoolgirl, that I first became aware of my lovely Anthea. Over the weeks and months she became like a sister to me. I loved her so much. I was in heaven whenever she was on TV. How I looked forward to each program knowing that I would see my darling Anthea once again. Anthea launched the National Lottery in 1994 wearing a £4,000 outfit. It was a plum-colored trouser suit with a brocade waistcoat and cravat. The show was broadcast nationwide and the whole country caught lottery fever. Rollover jackpots of £17 and £18 million became quite the norm. We all became blasé about money. What was £1 million? A mere trifle. Pocket money. Every Saturday night Anthea appeared in yet another stunning £1,000 outfit straight from Harrods or Harvey Nicks. What we didn't know at the time was that she had an option written into her contract to buy each outfit after the show for 10% of its cost price. What a wonderful life. The kind of life that young girls like me could only dream about. But Anthea was living the dream. 7. We spent Tuesday morning in a relaxed manner. Anthea showed me some of her prized possessions, including the £4,000 trouser suit she wore to launch the National Lottery. There were so many mementos and photographs of her glittering career. I was amazed and overwhelmed at what Anthea had achieved in such a short time. "None of it was planned," said Anthea, smiling at me. It just happened and I simply went along with the flow. At 10 o'clock Grant phoned up from Portugal and Anthea gave him a detailed account of what she'd been up to during the past 2 days.